Hi, everyone. Welcome to Tea Time with Amie and Bev.
Good morning.
Hello, hello. Welcome, welcome. Hola, ¿cómo está?
Bien, usted? That's it.
Bien.
Don't ask any more questions.
Mucho bien. I know that's the extent of it. That's all I got.
So how are things going?
Oh, good, good. I just gotta dive into this because I listened to a video. In fact, I posted it in Facebook. It's an interview with Ed Milet and Erwin McManus. It's a good video. I've watched it twice in this past week, and one thing that really stuck out to me, and it resonated with me very much because, in a sense, this is what I teach, but I never heard it in these words. He said the insanity is to run from God or source or the divine. He uses the word God, which is fine. Insanity is to run from God to seek love.
So you run from love to get love.
Yep. You run from love, seeking love.
Which is crazy. It's crazy.
It's
Well, and it's like
insanity.
I listened to part of the video, and one of the things that got me was like off in the beginning, he's like, God did it to get to you. Like
Yeah.
all these things that are happening to you are there. It's just like God trying to guide you into that direction, which is so crazy to me. I mean, it's crazy because that's not the way we were taught. That's not the way you hear people talking all the time.
Yeah, I love that statement too. That maybe it was something God was doing to get to you.
Yeah.
But because we're human and we get our egoic minds going, we say it was God's fault. If
Yeah.
if if God is all loving and knowing and omniscient, that why would he let this happen?
Well, we're here on free will.
Yeah. So things have to happen in order for us to grow and expand. It's what
Yes.
we do with that information, right? So going back to other conversations, if Bev and I hadn't had the experiences we had and healed, which means we got closer to spirit being love, moving closer to our source, we wouldn't have the ability to heal. We would still be in blame and anger and shame and guilt, resentment, and pointing the finger. Somebody else did this to me, including God. That we move closer because of our experiences. We move closer to source, did some healing, and now we're sharing our wisdom in the prayer and the hope that this is beneficial for other people,
Yes.
right? So that was it. We were way over here in no man's land, bumping around in life, having experiences that were very painful, mentally, emotionally, physically, spiritually, right? All of it. But something, and I've shared it before with me, something in me said there's got to be something else to this life. There's got to be a reason why we have a life. What is that reason, right? And so the more I was seeking an answer to that question, the closer I got to source. And the easier and more fulfilling and more joyful things got, not when I was out in no man's land trying to do it myself, what I thought was doing it myself.
Yeah. So not leading with love. So basically what we could say is God is the same thing as love. We could just refer to it as love all the time because it is. And it's leading with your heart. And that's not, for me, that was like a confusing at first, but it's like once you start getting in touch with your heart center or that emotion, if you do things through the heart, you're not blaming anybody. You're not feeling like you're threatened. You're just loving. You're just loving. You're only going to be in circumstances and around certain situations, stuff that you're a match with. Your energy is only a match with. Which kind of brings me to another thing. So I'm learning that I love so many people that are out there, but I'm also noticing a difference. There's a place that I like to go to, and there's a couple of people there that are almost always there, and they haven't been at this place where I've been going recently. And it's like I almost feel like a relief, which is kind of strange to me because I love these people. I think they're great, but I'm also noticing that it doesn't mean there's anything wrong, but there's probably not a match in the energies. Like something's not matching up, and that's okay. And it gets kind of scary because we get so tied into the familiar for all of us. And it's being all right when things don't match up. I mean, it's really what it boils down to. It's not that you did anything wrong or they did anything wrong or anything happened. It just, for whatever reason, at this time, we're not a match in energies. And it's just been it's just maybe contemplate things a little bit differently. Even for like being home, like when I get home, I'm very happy and thankful to be home. And it's probably because I don't know, maybe in a lot of ways I'm more sensitive to a lot of things, but I'm not. I've learned, and I'm learning still, not to take on the energy of others, to make sure to take the time to clear myself, to give time for myself, to ask for my energy to be uplifted. If I can't seem to get it there, I ask my universal team, please help uplift my energy, help me feel more positive or joyful or whatever. And it's like it always happens if I let it. Depends on the space that I'm in. Sometimes I think I'm in a more receptive space than I really am, and then find out, I mean, we've got our own little guidance system. Let's just kind of know where we're at. So,
Yeah. Well, when you were talking, what came to my mind where you said the energies aren't matching, um, most of us, we don't have the same friends in our circle now that we had in kindergarten in the playground, right?
yeah,
That we
no.
couldn't wait to go outside and play tag or play on the monkey bars or whatever. And um, we had not the same friends you had in elementary, in junior high, high school, as an adult. Like our energies continuously shift and change as we shift and change with our experiences. So the people, and I bring this up because it was a post that I responded to yesterday on Facebook, and somebody asked, if you didn't go to um, like an AA support group or a rehab center, how did you quit drinking? Right? And what my response was, a much shorter version, but my response was that the circle of people, which I called quote unquote friends, the circle of my friends was very big. It was very big when I was hanging out in the bar getting drunk.
Mm-hmm.
And they encouraged me to drink, right? Here, just one more drink. Let's have one more shot. Let's just, right? And you're like, okay, because you're having so much fun. I did anyway. I was fun drunk. Um, but for me to change that within my life of not depending on the substance to have a happy life by being drunk, I had to change something. So I took myself out of the circle of friends. So I distanced myself from those people. I wouldn't go hang out at those places that I knew those people would be at. And when I did that, of course, I shifted and changed. I'm not drinking anymore, right? I'm not, I wouldn't say anymore. I would say it's far and few between, but
Not
not
with the
like it
same
was.
goal.
Huh?
Not with the same goal. Because
No,
the goals with the, because
not for the same
I
reason.
understand. Yeah, not for the same reason by any means,
Right.
or to get to the same place.
Right. And so since I removed and distanced myself from those people, my energy shifted because I'm not consuming the alcohol like I was. I'm not in that same mental and emotional state that I was. And so I've changed my energy, my vibration. And because I've done that, I have a very small circle of friends, but that small circle of friends I'm very connected to.
Oh, absolutely.
Big
And it's
difference.
not how, yeah, it is a big difference. It's not how's the weather, or how was that game you watched, or how was your bowling, or how, it's not any of those things anymore. It's so much, it's such a more deeper, fulfilling conversations.
Right. And so I just want people to be aware, like you're constantly shifting and changing in your energy. And when I see these people now out in public there's almost nothing to talk about except how's the weather or how are your kids or oh my gosh, how old are they now or what are you doing? Oh, I'm still working at or whatever it might be, right? It's still all surfacey conversations and there's no connection. So as I get older and recognizing that the smaller my circle of friends are, the healthier the friendships are.
Yeah. Well, I happened to see a post yesterday too, and it talked about what would you do if you came home and all your exes were on, you were standing on your front porch. My first thing that I thought was, what was I thinking? Because we would totally be different. And I mean, it was because I was around people that maybe at that time I was doing drugs or I was smoking pot or I was drinking or whatever. It's like, I'm not, when we're drinking, I feel like a lot of ways, and I'll have a glass of wine and I'll get to a goofy part and I'll have fun and be funny and silly. It's not the same as it was before because for me, I was blackout drunk. I mean, I would get that way many times. That's how I lived my life.
Yeah.
As far as I know, that was good enough. Not how, why is because I was escaping. I was escaping everything. That was the best way to shut everything off.
Right.
But it's like, I'm not a match to the energy. I'm not a match to my own energy that I was at that time, let alone the people that were around. It's like, if I was around, I don't even know if I would even, if I would have saw me carrying on and being loud and drunk and making people laugh, and being silly. I don't know if I'd be like, not, I'm glad they're having a good time, but I'm going to go over here. It's a little bit more quiet and peaceful and
I'm going to go read a book.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. I don't know that I would hang out with myself.
Right.
Truly.
Right. Yeah. And, and people our age were like, thank God there was like no cell phones with cameras at that time.
Thank God.
No incriminating
Thank God.
evidence.
Oh my God. So many survival things that I did growing up that I managed to
It's
make
true.
it
Like,
through.
yeah, I probably wouldn't want to hang out with the person that I was, but I definitely have more compassion. If I was to witness myself then,
Oh yeah.
what was happening and I was witnessing it, I would definitely have more compassion for myself for what
Yeah,
I
you'd
was experiencing.
run up and give yourself a hug and hold on to yourself for as long as you could. Your other self will be like, this hug was over 1 second ago.
Yeah.
Because we couldn't receive hugs at that time either. No way. It's like, this is over, but that's because it is. You would see it in such a different way because there's such a bigger picture to why someone's behaving or acting a certain way that they're acting. And it boils down to love. It's like most of the time we just needed love. We just needed a hug. We didn't need someone to come fix everything. We just needed love.
Right.
Need to be seen.
But unfortunately, we were not seeking love towards source. We were seeking for love elsewhere, right? And other people, and other
outside of self, exactly. Always outside, but that's how it was until you finally realize that everything outside of you isn't going to satisfy you and make you happy. Once you achieve that ring or that vehicle or whatever, then you're on to the next thing. You're not that satisfaction, which would always make me crazy when I'd hear Abraham. So Esther Hicks, channeling Abraham, talking about you got to enjoy the journey. Well, now I'm at the place where I'm saying the same thing. You just got to enjoy the journey. It's the journey to getting to where you're getting to. It's not me just picking up a deck of cards and knowing how to read all the symbolism on it. It's the journey to getting to understanding and reading all that stuff. It's the journey to learning all the symbolisms for myself, how I would interpret it for somebody or for myself. It's the journey to it. It's not the final destination. It's freaking fun.
Yeah, it took me a while to get that, right? That I was just like, I'm tired of this journey because this journey is exhausting, right? I got hangovers, I got headaches, I got to still go to work. All my problems are still there. I got a child to raise, I'm in a marriage, right? Navigating through life. And you're just like, fuck this journey. I'm over it. And so that was the escape, was the alcohol, but also in that I was running away from source.
Oh yeah.
Because I didn't understand what that was.
But then it makes me think, but were you running away from source, or all this time was it, I mean, in a full scheme of things, were you actually running towards source? Like, was all these things like catching you on fire to push you further into this other place, like make you question things, make you ask for more, make you want to, what does love feel like? Did it feel like, I mean, because sometimes it makes me wonder, did we or especially after listening to that last video that you had shared, was it always pushing us towards that space, like unlearning all the crap that we've learned?
Was it God getting to us?
Yeah, the whole time.
And
I'm
so
over
as you
here.
said that, as you were saying that, you said, the fire was making you go, right? In a different, or go keep. What I mentally, what image came to me was there was this fire pushing me. Well, what puts a fire out? Water. I love water, right? So if I
Yeah,
go into the water and release and relinquish, I will float and I will be surrendering and allowing, right? Because now I'm just going to open myself up and allow. So that was the image I got when you were talking. Thought that was
that's
cool.
that's awesome. And I was just learning, so I'm asking questions about symbolism. So I start looking at things like, so the Ankh, the Egyptian like cross thing is like a key to your soul. So it's like your life, your like all these things. And I'm reading about this stuff, and I'm picking up the things that I feel resonate with me. And then it even talks about fire, because fire is an energy, and fire burns up anything that is not like itself. So that was kind of a crazy thought to me. And it's just like, then of course you go into the phoenix, how the phoenix burns up only to be renewed, like it dies only to be born again. So it's just like all these wonderful little messages that we get, these little symbolisms that we get on a daily basis. There's so much more to it if you take the time to get the messages. If I'm driving around and I see a phoenix on a vehicle, well, I know it's a freaking message for me, or I wouldn't have seen it. Period.
And it's true. I was standing outside. It was dusk. I mean, we're in spring, and so it's lighter longer, right?
Yes.
And standing outside, still light out, basically, not dark yet. And this tan colored bat came maybe 2 feet from me. I was like, whoa, I thought that was really cool. So then I had to look it up, but I was like, that's that's a symbol too.
Oh, yes.
And so as yeah, but we missed like years ago, I would have been swinging and like, oh my God, right? Being
Yeah.
crazy woman. But now I'm just like, whoa, because it got my attention. What's a bat
Yeah.
out doing out when it's still light out?
Yeah.
Interesting. It came so close to me.
You're witnessing it now instead of
Right.
reacting to it. That's awesome.
Yep. So recognizing, I guess, coming back to what what direction do you feel like you're running? Are you running away from source, or do you feel like you're running toward source? And it almost seems with what you said a while ago, with that question is it's the chicken and the egg conversation.
Yeah.
Because the whole time I was going through my life experiences, in me was a question or statement, there's got to be more to life than this. So if I'm continuously asking that question, and source, God divine, is saying, well, if you go this way and you go through this and you learn from it, right, then you're going to get your answer. You're going to get your answers. But I had to keep going. I had to keep
Yeah.
going.
And it's like, are we running from, but are we running from God? Or are we running from all the things that have been like suffocating us, stifling us, all these things that we can't stay, you just can't stay in that space forever. Not if you want to have more happiness in your life, not if you want to have joy in your life, not if you want to know there's more to life than where you're at right now. You just can't stay in that same place anymore. So it's like, it just makes me think about everything differently these days. Everything like that keeps popping up. You sent the video, and then I start hearing about someone else talking about God, and it's like, God doesn't want to hear us blaming him for everything all the time. God doesn't want us just to think that when we die, we're going to go to hell. I mean, I have clients that I've talked to recently, and they're still younger and still afraid that they're going to do something and go to hell. It's like, your hell is you thinking that you're going to go to hell. Your hell is you not living your life because you're so fearful that you're going to do something wrong right now. That's hell. That's not living life. So it's like, to me, it's like it's not love. God is love, period. Love is not going to hurt you. Love is not going to punish you. So it's like there's just so many different things. It's just given me such a different perspective on life.
And the other thing that that Erwin McManus brought up, what he said is that we were created from the image of God. And he points out that the one thing that the humans have compared to all the other species on the planet is we have our imagination. And so with that, in this interview, his teaching was that we currently are living the imagination of those before us. And so what are we going to do with our imagination now? Are we going to continue to feed the imaginations of those that came before us? Or are we going to use our imagination to create a different, I can't say better, but a different future for those that are going to be living in our imagination? And if you think about it, everything that's ever been created was created from a thought. It was created from imagination.
Mm-hmm.
And everything that's created now is being created to make life easier. Right? And until I heard that, I was like, wow, it's so true that every invention that comes out, people are seeking ways to make our lives easier. That's pretty cool, but you have to have an imagination to do that.
Exactly.
And so it's deciding what are you going to do with your imagination? How are you going to utilize your imagination? So the imagination that most people are living is fear-based, and fear-based is those images like, well, what if that happens, and what if he says that, or what if she does this, or and it's all fear-based, and so you're living in a fear-based imagination. But when you talk to people who believe in dream boards and visualization for creating what you want in your life, the house, the car, the money, the career, the relationships, right? You're focused on what you want. You're using your imagination to focus on what you want. Well, one is fun and joy and excitement, love. The other one is ego and fear and hell, right? So it's like you have a choice, and that's the other thing with humans. We have choices. Everything we do is a choice, and so you make the choice of which direction are you going to use your imagination in. What are you going to do to create your life?
It's true. But then what always stuck with me is like, if you're writing a book right now about your life, like, how would you describe yourself? It's your book. You can describe yourself in any way you want to. You could be the most glorious person on the planet. And why not? Because we listen to so many other people of descriptions, maybe not necessarily of ourselves, but overheard, oh, well, she's pretty. She's not so pretty. She's too tall. She's got too much muscle. She doesn't have enough muscle. She's too, you hear all these things and you start comparing yourself and creating this guideline that has nothing to do with you at all whatsoever. And then you lose yourself. That's how it felt like. And you don't even realize you've lost yourself until you're at this point where I don't even know who the hell I'm supposed to be. I don't know what I'm supposed to like. I don't know. But all those questions started happening only because I achieved. Well, I did. But I actually went to one of your classes that you had had, and where you're listening to stuff like that, and you start realizing, well, how come I don't have answers? How come everybody else is, which we've talked about before, how come everybody else has an answer of what things they like to do? Here I've got, I don't know. Okay, I like to garden. I like to go to the gym. I mean, I had nothing on this list because I wasn't checking in with myself. I had no clue about myself, and now I'm learning about myself, which you've talked about before too. That you're getting to know yourself, and that's all you're doing is you're getting to know yourself. If you put as much attention into a new relationship and on everything that they want, they like, what's their favorite color, what's their birthday, what's their sign, how is it compatible with you? It's all these things that had nothing to do with you. It's about some other person. You're putting all your energy into somebody else again, and not yourself. So it's just turning that energy back around to self.
Yeah, I was gonna
getting
say, isn't that interesting that when we get into a relationship, we want to know everything about that person, but we don't want to know shit about ourselves.
yeah.
We don't want to know how we operate. We don't want to know how the things we like. We don't even want to try to discover the things we like. We don't want to
Well,
try
because
anything new.
exactly, but how can you keep the other person happy all the time if you don't know all this stuff, right? But that's
Right.
not the reason they were attracted to you in the first place. They were attracted to you because you were being yourself, or you were, you were just enjoying life. And so we lose ourselves sometimes, but it's not necessary.
So then it comes back to you're seeking more interest and love in somebody else than you are within yourself, which is also created from an image of God and from a space of love, but it's believing that that's who you are or where you come from or what you're connected to and learning about yourself.
100%. It's giving ourselves that same energy that we would give to somebody else, just to giving it to ourselves, and it's not selfish. Before I probably would have thought, well, that sounds weird, but it's not weird, because when you sit down and you start writing a list and someone says, what do you like to do with your free time? I mean, it starts asking you these deep questions. So where do you want to be in a couple of years? I don't know. Making $1 more an hour. I mean, that's not a goal. That's just that's so, to me, that's still limited. That's very limited.
And how many times, I remember this too, how many times when you were in your partying days that if somebody called and say, hey, Bev, we're going to be at this bar, we're going to be hanging out tonight, we're going to be celebrating somebody's birthday, and you're like, I'm just going to stay home and rest, or no, I'm just going to stay home. They're like, oh, come on, come out with us, right? And it's the peer pressure, and I know I'd end up going out. But now when if you were to call me and say, hey, Amy, you want to go out and um, go to dinner, whatever, and I say, I'm just gonna stay home, I'm probably gonna take a bubble bath tonight or something, you'd be like, cool, right? You'd be like,
Yeah.
that is so awesome. And
Yeah.
you would give me that space. You would be like, that's great, she's nurturing herself, she needs this time for herself, whatever.
Yes.
And you would be more understanding. Whereas when we're in that space of uh, pleasing each other and
Mhm.
seeking and the acceptance of each other, we want everybody in it, we want everybody there to be in that mess. And your mess is your message, just saying, it's not a bad thing. My
No.
whole mess is my message. So but it's understanding that who where you were before, when you had some distance, space, or disconnect with source, with love. And now, when you're with being where we're at now, with ourselves, with source, that we're honoring each other, that we're nurturing ourselves instead of trying to please each other and I need your love, Bev, so I need you to come out with me, right?
Yeah.
And you're saying, no, I need to stay home and rest and have a bubble bath or read or whatever. And it's like, really?
But that all comes down to healthy boundaries too, because you're reminding me, I actually lost a couple of friends. I don't know. We were really close at a time, but we were also drinking all the time. And the reason I lost these friends is because I didn't know how to say no. I didn't have healthy boundaries. And they would call up, and it's like, Jim and I were separated at that time, and it's like they would call up, and it's like, let's go out and do this. I'm like, no, I'm at the gym, and it's like, no, come on, you just need to. We're over here at Chili's right now. Just come out. And I would give in every time. I'd go and I would have a good time. I would end up drinking way too much and be silly, and the fun and laugh, and you just blow it all off and forget about it. But it's like I got to where I was like making excuses why I couldn't go, instead of no is the answer. No is enough, because it's having healthy boundaries. I love you, but no. And if someone else doesn't understand that, and they get all butthurt about it and upset about it, then that's not your problem. That just means that they don't know healthy boundaries, and there's nothing wrong with that. That just means they just haven't had the opportunity to experience healthy boundaries. Someone's overridden their boundaries too, so this is what they know. Because it was, and I would still like these two girls as my friends. Whether we matched up as energy wise, I feel like there was a lot of energy that could match up, but from that space that we were at, no. And from the space that I was at, where I was just learning to start saying no, like I didn't, no was not really very well in my vocabulary. You're talking about a girl that I started at the jail, and I knew, do not miss a single day that first year, because then people would look bad upon, it would look bad upon you. You know what I mean? I always ironed my uniforms. I always polished my boots. I did all these things because that was how I got accepted. That's how, all these things that I was doing to people please on a daily basis. It's freaking exhausting. But it was like learning, and the message wasn't that I was losing friends or anything like that. It was just that I was learning boundaries, which have gotten a lot stronger since then, because now no is no. I'm sorry. No, I'm sorry. And I don't even say I'm sorry. I just say no. Well, thank you.
Thank you.
And then that person will still try to, oh, come on, why don't you come over just for a little while? No. And they don't, and that's not always acceptable. And you might lose someone, it might even be a family member, because that's what happened to me too. They might step out of your life because you said no, you chose to have healthy boundaries, and that's okay. It doesn't mean the other person was wrong. It doesn't mean that you were right. It's just, we got to honor ourselves, and we've got to listen to our intuition, and we have to, those are healthy boundaries. No is just a simple statement all by itself.
What if, I said, hey, Bev, let's go out, let's have a drink. And you're like, no, I'm going to stay home. I'm going to have, I just need some time for reflection. I mean, these would be kind of the words that we would have with each other, not necessarily with the other people that we're acquainted with. No, I need some time for myself. Got to do some reflection. Great. How can I pray? Can I pray for you? Right?
Yes.
Pray for your sisters, pray for your brothers, and hold the space for them that, yeah, they may be going through a moment in their life that's a little bit trying or hard. And they want that time to be with themselves. They don't want to be out partying and drinking and being around a bunch of people. And you're great. Can I pray for you? I'm going to pray for you, Bev. I know you're going through some stuff right now. I'm going to pray for you, okay?
Yeah.
And I could say it with her, or I could just say it on my own. I mean,
that's right.
It's how can you hold the space for others and honor them with where they're at?
And free yourself from all the garbage you're carrying around. Like, seriously. Like, for me to even have any animosity towards any person that no longer is in my life is foolishness. But I can find appreciation. There's always something to appreciate. Maybe they had nice teeth. Maybe that's the best thing you got. They just had nice teeth. But there's always something to appreciate. Maybe they were a good caretaker or a good provider. Maybe you didn't have to want for things. And even regardless of whatever else you learned along the way, we can be around narcissistic people, or that's just another label as far as I'm concerned, because I think I think we go through a lot of different, if we went through labels, I probably have been in a lot of different labels in my lifetime.
Absolutely.
So I can't really put the blame on anybody. But what I'm learning, and it was something that hit me last week, was really paying attention. There was things that I could have appreciated from that. And that's not anything but freeing for me, because that means I'm not focused on the bullshit anymore, and I'm freeing myself. I'm not carrying that bag of shit around with me anymore. I'm freeing myself because I don't need it, because you don't need it. We don't need to carry this stuff around with us, and it only just makes you feel heavy or tired, or because it's heavy and you're dragging it around everywhere you go.
Drag it around. Gotta carry that shit around.
That's right. So drop it. Like, it's just been huge things I've had. Just like, it seems like I've had a lot of epiphanies lately. Like, and it's only because I'm present. We have them all the time. It's just only because I've been present to be aware of them. Like, oh my God, I've been doing that my whole lifetime. I think one of the videos we talked about was like how I recognized I was feeling like I needed more attention when I was a kid for my mom, but my mom wasn't around. She was trying to be a provider. She was working 3 jobs. She couldn't be around to love me and nurture me the way that I thought, later on thought that I could have been raised to be. It would help me be a little bit more nurturing myself. But this was my journey. This wasn't her journey. So it wasn't like anything was wrong, but it's like such a different perspective. And believe me, I love my mom. I would tell you, I don't think there's anything that she could have done wrong in so many ways. Besides, I would say I wasn't protected. There was some things that I feel that, but it's like my mom did the best she could because she wasn't protected. How would she know how to protect me if she wasn't protected? Because she wasn't from
Was
her own family. So it's like there's so much information that's out there, and it's not like it's saying, oh, that it was okay that it was like that. No, it has nothing to do with that. It has to do with what did I learn from that? How did I grow from that? How can I let this stuff go? I don't need to carry it around on me anymore. It feels so much better not carrying this shit around with me anymore, and it smells so much better.
yeah.
I'm just saying.
But we that's what we do though. We think that bag of shit is more important and we need to give all of our attention to it and would live in it, in our
Yeah,
head, constantly
yeah,
telling those stories, reliving the things we've been through and hanging on to that heavy emotion instead of dropping that. And I just keep coming back to that interview because Erwin McManus, he said, God forgives. And it's not that we need forgiveness from God, we need forgiveness from ourselves.
absolutely.
And so, most I know I was this way, and most people look at it this way, that when somebody does something to us, we need to forgive them, right? Because they did this to us. Well, if you put your name at the top of the list and forgive yourself for the experiences you've had and how you showed up and the words you said and the actions you took and the way you felt, when you forgive yourself, then majority of the other names, other people fall off the list. And
It's like a
that is,
waterfall.
do what?
Yeah. I said it's like a waterfall. I could just see it like just like you being up here, and it's like a waterfall. It's just like releases everybody.
Right.
It doesn't matter if they're in spirit or physical right now. It doesn't matter.
And so it's so vitally important that you forgive yourself for your life experiences, but also know that it's freeing you. It's freeing you from all those experiences and what you've been that from carrying that bag of shit with you this whole time.
Yes.
Right. And the more we let go and drop, it's like a helium balloon, right? The more
Yeah.
less weight it has, the higher it can float.
Yeah.
Well, I want to get closer to source
Yes.
because the further I got away, the more uncomfortable I was. The more fear I had, the more anger I had, the more resentment, right? You were still in those heavy emotions, all the shit.
Depressed. Yeah.
And so I want to be lighter. I want to be in that space of feeling the love emanating to me and from me.
Yes.
Because I wasn't a very loving person earlier in my days, just want to say. And I can't change any of that, but what I can do is forgive myself for the way I showed up.
Yeah.
And I showed up the way I knew how to show up at that time. And you people do what they know how to do. And you don't know what you don't know.
That's right.
So you get to choose. Here we are. You get to choose. Do you want to keep fueling that flame that's going to push you, which is resistance, wouldn't you say, like pushing you towards God, which you're causing resistance to? Or are you going to learn to move in the different direction of moving towards your source, God, of your understanding, and move closer to love and be more
Yes.
in that space?
Because closer to love, feel. I mean, that's really what it boils down to. Because no matter what label you put on it, no matter what you call it, it's closer to love. All of it is closer to love.
And
And
why do we
it's
resist love so
and
much? I mean, it's like, why do we resist that so much?
because it's not something that's been practiced for most. It hasn't been something that's been practiced. So, gosh, I don't even know. For the longest time, I don't know if I even ever allowed myself to feel that because it gets scary for me even still. That's why with all the stuff that I've got right now, it's like, man, Jim, you missed out, honestly, because it's like now I have so many different skills, but he didn't miss out because I couldn't be that person because he couldn't be that person. We were at an end. It was at It was time for him to go. It was time for him to peace out. He had to hurry up and rapidly do a few things, and like, because he knew he was going, period. Like, he just, whether he really physically knew, his soul knew. But it's like, it's really, it boils down to love. It just boils down to love. And that's all I can say for anything. And it feels better. You feel lighter. You feel, when you see people that are walking around happy and glowing and stuff, and you want to be that way, go through the freaking journey, man. I'm just telling you, feel the feelings, listen to the guidance, like, and on the days that you're resisting it, resist it. Do it damn well though, but resist it really well. But don't stay in that space. Only stay in that space for a small amount of time. Like, I've spent so many years wasting, well, and I can't even say wasting because that's not true. I spent so many years learning about lower energies very well. I learned it very well. And now learning love is the opposite. That feels differently. So it's like most of us don't even know how to get into that space. And it's just one step at a time. It's having a desire. So to me, a fire is also a desire. A fire is like the burning desire within yourself to want more, to do more, to be more. It's like all that stuff too. It's just it's kind of nudging. I've got a card that shows, it's I don't remember what the card was, but it shows a dog like standing on the back of the guy's leg, and it's like it's kind of trying to gently move you forward, like you're staying too complacent right here. And that's the way it really can be. In the beginning, it might feel a little bit more harsh because you've got so many of these emotions that you've been ignoring the whole freaking time, because that's how it felt for me. And it's like, and then when Jim passed, it was like a fast forward, rapid. The grief was, how did I feel, how I showed up in this relationship. The grief wasn't that Jim was gone. The grief was how I showed up in this relationship. What could I have done differently? How could I be differently? And I'm thankful for that, because it's such a gift that I got to grow from, that I still get to grow from. And I will go out and I tell people about it too. Like, when they ask me questions, I just tell them, you know, this is where it's at. But it's like, man, I wouldn't give up that experience. I wouldn't give up the experience at all. I wouldn't. If you'd asked me a few months ago, it would have been a different story. But it's like, I've grown through this process. It's not a bad thing. I've taken everything positive from this. And like you said, I've had to forgive myself sometimes a couple of times a day, because I did the best that I could. I did what I knew. I did. And that's the thing. Someone told me just recently, we only act how we learn to act. We learned all this stuff anywhere from 0 to 9 years. You learned all this stuff. You learned it all without, you don't even know why you're doing half the things. But when you start paying more attention to yourself, you start acknowledging these things that you're doing, and you don't have to continue doing it. That's where the choice comes in. We've all been, I would probably say a majority of people have gone through some sort of abuse, some sort of you've been victimized at some point in your life. But it's like, we don't have to stay that victim. We can grow from all this.
Stuck energy is just not being in motion.
Yeah, it's just stagnant, right?
Stagnant, right. Like, stuck energy would be staying and grieving. So you could have chose, clear up to this point, to stay in your grieving.
Yeah.
Had you stayed in your grieving, you wouldn't have your growth that you have experienced over these past few months. And so emotion is energy in motion. So when we feel stuck, it's because we're not moving. We're not doing anything to have the action going. We're just staying complacent in the way we're feeling and not choosing anything different.
Okay. Which makes sense. I was just trying to process that when you were saying it, so that makes sense.
So I know I've said it. I've stuck. I feel stuck.
Yeah.
Right. I feel stuck. And then finally I heard, you feel stuck because you're not doing anything. You're not moving. You don't have any action steps.
Does that mean you're not feeling your emotions, or you're only allowing one emotion to come through? Or is it both?
It just having, so I feel stuck where I'm at. Okay, great. What's my next step? Maybe I need to do some forgiveness. Well, I don't want to.
Oh, gotcha.
Anybody. Okay, then I'm going to stay stuck in that.
Yeah.
That's because I'm choosing not to move. I'm not choosing not to do anything about it. I'm looking at it as their fault. They need to come to me and own up to what they did. In the meantime, who's stuck? Right? I'm sitting here not
Yeah.
moving, not shifting, not changing, not growing because I'm choosing not to do anything.
And that's heavy. To me, that's heavy. Going through the process that I've gone through, I feel light. Like I feel much lighter. Life is lighter and it doesn't feel so heavy. Everything feels more possibilities, more solution oriented on any given occasion, really.
But you got to move.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean you got to be doing something all the time. It just means there needs to be motion. We got to keep moving. We are energy, our spirit's energy, everything around us is energy. Everything is moving just at a different speed. Doesn't mean you got to pound everything out, right? Just having some movement, some motion, something, some action going on, so you're not feeling stuck. And then it's listening to your intuitive guidance that's going to give you that step to take so that you can have some motion in your life to keep going.
So you don't have the mosquitoes all joining into that little stagnant bowl of water.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
A pool of
Yeah. That's
water
what popped in my head. Yeah.
festering, right? Festering with
Yeah.
larvae.
Yeah. Be more like the river with the waterfall flowing and like, because life is flowing. That's how, yeah, that's exactly it. Awesome.
Right?
Right.
We're so funny. Our humanness is so funny.
It
There's
is.
so much, there's so much humor, so much comedy in what we do. What we think's important, what we hang on to, what we choose to do and not to do. We are very interesting creatures.
It is interesting. I was going to say, one of the things that I've noticed with me lately that I have caught myself is when I feel like I have to go do something, I don't want to go do it.
Mm.
That's been like so prevalent lately, and I think it probably always was there because it was one of my defensive things, especially when my a family member would be like, "You need to go do this," or "You got to do this," and it's like feeling like you have to go do something. So I know how to get away from that. Is like looking at this, what am I doing, and finding the reasons why I'm doing it, and finding the ways to appreciate what I am doing or what I'm going to be doing that day, or just don't go freaking do it. So it's just but it was something I caught myself like it was something I had to go do, and it's like no, because just that feeling by itself doesn't feel good.
Right,
So that
because
was something I noticed recently.
yeah, if somebody's telling you have to go do something and you're like, I don't have to do anything.
Uh-uh.
And why am I getting triggered? Because you're telling me I have to go do it, right? There you go. Oh,
Exactly.
because mom would talk to me like that. You have to go
Yeah.
do this. And I didn't
Yeah.
want to do it,
Yeah.
right? So
Yeah.
that's part of the shit that you're hanging on to is that
Yeah.
you're getting triggered by somebody telling you have to go do something. And then the walls come up, the resistance, claws, whatever. It's like, I don't want to do it. I ain't doing it. Don't tell me what I
Exactly.
have to do.
Yeah. That's exactly it.
So that
But
would be stuck, right? You're still
yeah. And
stuck in that energy of childhood.
yeah.
Whereas being grateful, okay, well, I get to do this because
Yes.
I get to do this and it's going to be beneficial for me because, right? Getting into that gratitude and appreciation state, that's
Yes.
movement, that's motion, that's growth, that's expansion. The other part is just staying in it. I'm just going to stay in this because that's what I know.
Yeah. It's nice all these triggers come up though. It's like funny how I can find so many ways to appreciate a certain person, and holy shit, right now I'm realizing appreciating that certain person is also that certain person was the one that was like the demanding, like you have to go do these things all the time. Can you do me a favor? And if you ask if can you do you a favor, you got to say yes because you're obligated now because you already have
Right.
to, we're already in that space. But that trigger right there. So it's funny that I was getting healing from one part and then the trigger was still showing up on another part. I recognized it yesterday because I had to apologize. I had to call. Well, I didn't have to, but I called up and I said, I just want you to know I'm realizing why I'm doing this because I'm feeling like I have to go do this. And I said I would rather just stay home altogether, not even go anywhere. but it was interesting because I was able to have the conversation afterwards, and it's like I get to the point where I'm not saying I'm sorry, but I just and I'm not justifying, but I'm kind of going through this process with this person, letting them know this is what's happening right now, because sometimes I feel like when we say sorry too much about stuff like that. So it's not my sorry, but it's not, it's going to change from here on out. I'm acknowledging it now. I'm actually seeing it. I'm seeing the trigger, and it's helping me to shift forward. It's helping me to shift to a lighter frequency or a higher frequency because I'm not carrying around more stuff that I've been asking to let go of. Wow.
Wow.
That was a lot for my mind to just process right now. So I don't know if it came across for everybody, but it's like, it just, it was just a huge learning process. And it's always like that though. It's all right. It's all right. It's like, I don't beat myself up like I used to beat. I'd be like, Jesus Christ, you're doing it again? What is your fucking problem? I'm not like that anymore. Now I'm like, oh, okay, it was a trigger. Okay, yeah, you're right. It was a trigger.
And then you're like, oh, I get it. Oh, I get
Yeah.
it now.
Yeah.
I get why I'm crazy now. I get it.
Yeah, exactly. It's funny stuff right there.
So let's be more interested in what love has to offer us than believing that it's separate from us.
Yeah.
It only exists in other people or other things. Would you agree with that?
I would. So what would you say? So for everyone, like if you're going to do something, find a guided meditation that talks about getting into your heart center. Like there's so many different guided meditations out there, or find different ways to get into your heart center, or look at flowers or your babies or grandbabies, or how your grandmother talks to your kids, or find those places that you feel like when you're in that place, you feel like your heart's going to burst, like you almost feel like you're going to cry because it feels so great. But like feeling that and then trying to, maybe not trying is not the right word, but focusing in on that and then feeling it more often, because we can get into those meditative places. And I'm just processing this because it would be great for me to do this for myself, because of one of the things that I wrote down on, and it's been in my face kind of a little bit lately, is really focusing on doing everything through the heart, through your heart center, through love.
That's one of the things I do every day is I call in Archangel Shamuel.
Okay.
I call in the archangels and I name them and make my requests of each of them. But Archangel Shamuel, I ask, please help me remember to come from a loving space with my thoughts, my words, my actions, and my emotions. Do I always accomplish that? No. Do I get my ego sometimes? Yes. Do I say things that aren't that great? Yes, I do. But knowing that Archangel Shamuel is there to help guide me in that and to be more in a loving space with my thoughts, my words, my emotions, and my actions is a reminder.
That's awesome. Second time I've heard Shamuel today, because I listened to a different podcast this morning that was talking about, relying on all your spirit guides and angels and, archangels. And they were just going through and talking about ascended masters, talking about a bunch of different things, how much help we have out there. And now you're bringing up Shamuel again. So I'll have to do some looking into that. Yeah.
You're welcome.
Yep. Hey, thank you for the message. Thank you for the message.
Awesome. Well, we'll leave it there. Thank you so much for hanging out with us. Tea Time with Amie and Bev. We hope that we're bringing wisdom and knowledge, information to you that's going to be beneficial for your life journey. And even though it's your life journey, we're all connected.
Yes.
So when you heal, I heal. When I heal, you heal. And it just goes, it's the infinity symbol of give and take, of giving and receiving. And so just knowing that your healing process is a benefit to all. So any last words, Miss Beverly?
Have a harmonious week.
Harmonious week. We'll take that. Be sure to either share this with other family, friends, or people you know that would benefit from the information. You can connect with us on Facebook in our page. It's Amie and Bev. And then email is amieandbev@gmail.com. You can leave us questions or comments and we will respond to them. Thank you so much, and we'll see you next time.
Thank you. Bye.